So today we are going to discuss organic past papers, A levels chemistry paper 2, right? And this question is from October November 2020 2015 paper 22, right? So this question is related to halogenoalkanes, right? One of the most important topic from organic chemistry, and I hope everyone knows this thing that halogenoalkanes, these are alkyl group attached with halide groups. So we can also call them halogenoalkanes. They can also be called alkyl halides. We can also call them alkyl halides because alkyl group is attached to an halide, and this is also known as haloalkanes. So these are different names for alkyl groups attached to halide groups. Halogenoalkane is the most common one, or we can also call them alkyl halides. So in the question says that halogenoalkanes are useful intermediates in the synthesis of a wide variety of compounds. So we can make a lot of compounds from halogenoalkanes. And the reaction they are talking about is that 2-bromobutane reacts in two different ways with sodium hydroxide, depending on the condition, right? So the reaction is with sodium hydroxide, and this 2-bromobutane, it can react with sodium hydroxide in two different ways depending on conditions. So the first reaction is that when warmed with aqueous sodium hydroxide, so we are reacting 2-bromobutane with aqueous sodium hydroxide. 2-bromobutane produces an alcohol. So when 2-bromobutane reacts with aqueous sodium hydroxide, we get alcohol that exists as a pair of optical isomers, right? So the reaction is that 2-bromobutane, and guys, what is 2-bromobutane? We have this butane, and on the second carbon we has bromine group attached. So this is 2-bromobutane, right? So this 2-bromobutane is reacting with sodium hydroxide in aqueous phase. Right, this is in aqueous phase. So I hope you know this thing that when a halogenoalkane reacts with sodium hydroxide in aqueous phase, substitution reaction occurs. OH group as a nucleophile will replace bromine, and we would get an alcohol, right? So OH will replace bromine, and this is what they're saying in the question, that this produces an alcohol that exists as a pair of optical isomer. Now the first part of the question is that give the name of the mechanism of the reaction between 2-bromobutane and aqueous sodium hydroxide. So basically in this reaction what is happening, that OH group will act as a nucleophile, and this will replace Br. So this is nucleophilic substitution. So when NaOH reacts with alkyl halide in aqueous medium, this is important, that when alkyl halide or halogenoalkane reacts with sodium hydroxide in aqueous medium, this is what they have told us in this part, this second line, that 2-bromobutane reacts in two different ways with sodium hydroxide depending on the condition. So the condition is aqueous, right? So we are using NaOH aqueous, and when we use NaOH aqueous with a halogenoalkane, substitution occurs. The OH group will replace the Br, right? So we get alcohol. The product of substitution reaction of alkyl halide is alcohol with NaOH aqueous. So the mechanism, we have to give the name of mechanism. So the name of mechanism is nucleophilic substitution, right? Nucleophilic substitution. Then in the next part they're saying explain why the alcohol produced exists as a pair of optical isomers, right? Because in the previous part they have told us this thing, that this alcohol which is being produced when NaOH react with 2-bromobutane, this exists as a pair of optical isomers. Now what are optical isomers? Optical isomers are optical isomers which rotate, which have similar molecular formula, same structure, but they rotate the polarized light in opposite directions. The isomers which rotate the polarized light in opposite direction, right? They have same molecular formula, they have similar structure, but they rotate the polarized light in opposite direction because of the different orientation of atoms in space, right? So now the alcohol which we get from this reaction when NaOH aqueous reacts with bromine, this would exist as a pair of optical isomers. And why is that? Because the alcohol would have a chiral center, right? Like if we write the reaction here, what would happen? OH will replace Br, and what would we get? We get CH3 CH, and let me write in this way: CH, CH2, CH3, and this OH group. Now this exists as a pair of optical isomers, and the reason is that we have this chiral carbon present in this structure, chiral carbon. And I hope everyone knows this thing, that chiral carbon is the carbon which is attached to 4 different groups, which lacks plane of symmetry, right? Which has no plane of symmetry. So this carbon is attached to 4 different groups. Any organic compound which has a chiral carbon, right, which has at least one chiral carbon, it would be having optical isomers, right? So we can see that this has this CH3 group attached, one, then we have this hydrogen, and then we have this ethyl group, and we have this hydroxide group. So this carbon is attached to 4 different groups. That means this carbon is chiral. It lacks plane of symmetry, it has no plane of symmetry, and that's why this compound has a pair of optical isomers. So they're asking us the reason, explain why the alcohol produced as a pair of optical isomers. So the reason is it has a chiral carbon, which lacks plane of symmetry. Now the next part is draw the three-dimensional structures. Draw the three-dimensional structure of the 2 optical isomers of the alcohol produced in 2. So we have already drawn the alcohol here, but now we have to draw it in 3-dimensional form, right? So whenever a question came on optical isomers in past paper, generally they ask you to draw the 3-dimensional structure. So you have to practice this one. You have to get this idea that how to draw the optical isomers, and this is pretty simple. All you have to do is just memorize this thing, that whenever we are drawing the optical isomers, 2 of the bonds would lie on the same plane. So let's suppose these straight lines or these unbroken lines, they represent the bonds on the plane, right? So these are the bonds on the plane, right? Then we would draw a broken line, and this broken line, this would represent a bond going away from us, and then a wedge, and wedge means this bond is coming toward us out of the paper. So this would be a simple description of a 3D diagram, right? And in the similar manner you have to draw. Now the 2 optical isomers, they are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. Just remember this thing, that the 2 optical isomers which have a chiral center present, they are non-superimposable mirror images, right? They are non-superimposable mirror images, and instead of calling them non-superimposable mirror images, you can just simply call them enantiomers. A single word, enantiomers. So enantiomers are non-superimposable mirror images. So we have to draw these non-superimposable mirror images, right? So we have to draw the mirror image of this one. So the mirror image of this one would be again two unbroken lines, and then the dotted line would come on this side, and a wedge, right? So this is the mirror image. Now you have to attach the groups, right? And you can attach the groups in whatever way you want, but I would suggest that most simple way would be to find out the structure in the paper, right? And like just we have to we just have drawn it here, the heavier part, because this one is the heavier part, CH2, CH3 and OH. We would draw them on top and below. So let's suppose CH2, CH3 and OH, and then CH3 and H, right? And the other isomer would be the places of H and CH3 would be replaced. CH3 would come on this side, hydrogen would be on this side, and ethyl group and OH group would remain in the same positions. So now these two structures are the non-superimposable mirror images. These are enantiomers, these are optical isomers, right? And this is the way how we draw them in 3 dimensions. This is very simple. You just have to practice with few structures, and then that's it, right? This is very simple concept. All right, now the next part is heating 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide. Now this is the other condition. Remember, in the first part of the question they have told us that NaOH react with 2-bromobutane in 2 different ways depending on the condition. So first condition was aqueous medium. Now the second condition is that now they're using it in ethanolic medium. So heating the 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide produces a mixture of 3 alkenes, right? 2 of which are a pair of geometrical isomers. So now they are reacting 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide, and this time we are getting alkenes, and not just 1 or 2, we are getting 3 alkenes, right? So when halogenoalkane reacts with aqueous sodium hydroxide, substitution occurs and we get alcohols. But when the same 2-bromobutane, now let me just draw the skeletal structure for 2-bromobutane. Now this is 2-bromobutane. Now this is reacting with NaOH, but this time conditions are changed. Now we have ethanolic medium. Instead of aqueous NaOH, now we have ethanolic NaOH, and now they're saying that we would get alkenes, and 3 different alkenes. And whenever we get alkene from some reaction, that means this would be elimination, right? We have eliminated some groups because this was completely saturated, right? And we've got an alkene from this reaction. So that means that few atoms have been eliminated. So this is elimination reaction. Whenever you get alkene as a product from alkyl halide or from alcohols, that means elimination occurs in this part. So they're saying that 3 alkenes we get from this reaction. When 2-bromobutane reacts with ethanolic sodium hydroxide, we get 3 alkenes, 2 of which are a pair of geometrical isomers. We will discuss geometrical isomers later. Give the name of the mechanism of the reaction between 2-bromobutane and ethanolic sodium hydroxide. So this I already told you that this is elimination reaction. So now this is very clear that when halogenoalkane reacts with aqueous sodium hydroxide, substitution occurs, right? OH group will replace the halide group, substitution occurs. And when the same NaOH react in ethanolic medium, then elimination occurs, right? Elimination occurs, and the product of substitution is alcohols, and the product of elimination is alkene. All right, so let's move on with the question. This was our rough work. Draw and name the structure of the pair of geometrical isomers. They've told us that three different types of alkenes would form, two of which are geometrical isomers. So we have to draw and name the structure. Draw and name the structures of the pair of geometrical isomers formed by the reaction of 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide. Right, so we have this 2-bromobutane. This is our 2-bromobutane. Let's just work out that what kind of alkenes we would get. Right, so let's just understand this thing, that this is our carbon. Right, in elimination what happens that one carbon will lose the halide group in the elimination of alkyl halides. So this Br group would be lost, and the neighboring carbon, now this is the neighboring carbon and this one is also the neighboring carbon. So the neighboring carbon would lost hydrogen, right? And you can just remember this in another way, that the carbon which holds the bromine, this we call alpha carbon, and the carbon next to it is called beta carbon. So this structure has two beta carbons. This one is beta carbon and this one is also beta carbon, right? So alpha carbon would lose halide group, alpha carbon would lose halide group, and beta carbon would lose hydrogen. Now we have two beta carbons here, right? This beta carbon, it has two hydrogens attached to it. As you can see that this is making two bonds, so that means the other two bonds would be hydrogen. So it has two hydrogens, and this one is making only one bond, this one. So that means this would have three hydrogens, right? This one would have three hydrogens. So now what would happen, that this will lose bromine and the neighboring carbon would lose hydrogen. So what kind of structures can we get? We can get two different kind of structures. If this one loses hydrogen and this one loses bromine, so these two carbons would make a double bond with each other. So the product would be four carbons. This carbon loses hydrogen, this carbon loses bromine. The double bond would form between these two carbons, right? This is one alkene which could form from this reaction. The other way around is that this carbon can lose hydrogen, then the double bond will between these two carbons, right? So this time we would have again four carbons. Br would be lost from this carbon and hydrogen would be lost from this carbon. So this time we have the double bond between these two carbons. So what do we call this structure? Right one, right, this one here. This one is carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4. So the double bond is between carbon number 1 and 2, so we call it but1ene. Remember, numbering starts from where double bond gets the smaller number. So we would start the numbering from left side, because from left side it gets carbon number 1, so double bond gets position 1. Now in this structure we can start numbering from either side, because it gets the same number, 2, 3, 4. If we start numbering from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. So same numbers, so you can start from either side. So this is but2ene, right? This is but2ene. So these are two structures, and if you remember, the question is saying that you get three alkenes, and as we just have saw that only two of the alkenes are being forming. So where is the other third? Where is the third structure? Now the third structure is the geometrical isomer of this one. As you can see, the cis-trans isomers. Cis-trans isomers means we know this thing that alkenes, they have restricted rotation. The carbon atoms that are making double bonds, they cannot revolve around their own axis, right? So if the carbon atom, like if we just talk about this one, but1ene, this does not has any geometrical isomers, because for geometrical isomers there are two conditions. Condition number 1, restricted rotation. So both these alkenes, but1ene and but2ene, have restricted rotation, but the other condition is that the double bonded carbon, or the sp2 carbon, because the carbons which are making double bonds, these are sp2 hybridized. So the sp2 carbons must have two different groups. They must have two different groups. And as you can see that this carbon has two hydrogens. So the both groups are same. That means it would not have any geometrical isomers. But if we show this structure, if we just look at this structure, now this is in this structure carbon number 2 and carbon number 3 are making double bonds. And if I draw the structure in this way in structural form, so this is carbon number 2, this is carbon number 3. Carbon number 2 has one CH3 group attached to it, and the other atom would be hydrogen. And as you can see, carbon number 3 has also one CH3 group attached to it and one hydrogen, right? So both these carbons have two different groups attached to them. Which two groups? A hydrogen and a CH3, and this also has a hydrogen and a CH3. So that means they can exist as two different isomers, geometrical isomers, cis and trans, which we can draw like this. C double bond. If both CH3 groups are on the same side, this is called cis butene. This is cis butene. And if both the CH3 groups are on the opposite side, then this is called trans-butene. So this is trans-butene, opposite, right? So these are now three different isomers, and two of which are geometrical isomers. So butanene, cis-butene, and trans-butene. So three alkenes, right? Now, draw and name the structures of the pair of geometrical isomers formed by the reaction of 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide. So we already have drawn the structures. You can just simply draw them here. That this would have, when both the CH3 groups are on the same side, then this is called cis butene, and if they are on the opposite side, then it is called trans butene. And cis and trans structures, they cannot be converted into one another because rotation is not allowed, right? So this is trans butene. So to rotate this, convert cis butene into trans butene. If you just look at here, if we want to convert cis butene into trans butene, then one of the carbon has to rotate around its own axis while fixing the other one, and which is not possible if double bond stays, right? So to make it happen, double bond has to be broken. Otherwise, cis butene cannot be converted into trans butene, and that's why these two are different structures. So I hope you get the idea here. Now the next part is that name the third alkene produced. We already have worked out the third structure as well. So name the third alkene produced by reaction of 2-bromobutane with ethanolic sodium hydroxide, and explain why it does not show geometrical isomerism. So the name of the third alkene was butanene, and why it does not show geometrical isomerism? Because one of the double bonded carbons has both the hydrogen's atom attached to it. Because one of the double bonded carbon, or sp2 carbon, double bonded carbon has two hydrogens attached to it. Or you can say that it does not have two different groups attached to it. So as we just have drawn it here, butanene. So this butanene, it has two hydrogens attached to it. This carbon here, it has two hydrogens attached to it, and that's why it does not show geometrical isomerism, right? So I hope you get the idea here. Now the next part B. Now this is synthesis question. We have a couple of reactions here, and we have to work out these reactions. In some parts they would ask the conditions. In some parts they would ask what is forming, like they would ask us what is X, right? So let's start this question. They're saying that in this question, some reactions involving 2-bromopropane are shown. So there are some reactions: reaction 1, reaction 2, reaction 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Total 6 reactions. State the reagent needed for reaction 1. So we have to find out what is happening in reaction 1. As you can see, reaction 1, 2-bromopropane is being converted into 2-aminopropane. This is, guys, this is amine group, NH2, right? NH3 is ammonia. NH3 is ammonia. And when one of the hydrogen of ammonia is replaced by an alkyl group, NH2R. So we have replaced one of the hydrogen by alkyl group. Alkyl group is simply chain of carbon atoms. It could be 1 carbon, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it could be methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, pentyl. So when one of the hydrogen is replaced by an alkyl group, then it is called amine, right? This is called amine. And as you can see that at the start of the reaction, we have Br group on the second carbon. This Br is attached to this carbon, CH. If we draw it in structural form, this is CH3, CH, Br is attached here, and then we have CH3. And what happens in reaction 1, that the Br is replaced by NH2. So instead of Br is gone, and now we have NH2 group attached. So again, this is substitution, and this is alkyl amine. Now they are asking the reagent needed for this reaction. So the reagent needed for this reaction is obviously ammonia, right? The nucleophile here is, again, this is nucleophilic substitution, as we have discussed with aqueous NaOH. So this time the nucleophile is ammonia, so we can write the reagent. The reagent needed for reaction 1 is ammonia, or you can write the formula of ammonia. So this is NH3. Now in the second part, they are saying state the reagent needed for reaction 2. Now reaction 2, this is, I think, like this question would be difficult for most of the students. It is tricky question. This is only one part question, and if you look at the marking schemes of this paper, it also says that most of the students, they were unable to attempt this part because this is really tricky part, right? We have to identify X. Now X is being coming from this amine. We have this amine, and this is propyl amine. You can just simply look at it. This at second position we have amine, so we can simply call it 2-aminopropane, right? So this is 2-aminopropane, 2-aminopropane, and 2-aminopropane is being converted into some compound X. We have no idea what is X, but if you look at this reaction 3, this will give you the idea what is X, right? This will give you the idea of X. First of all, you can see that hydrolysis is happening in reaction C. So we are hydrolyzing X. So that means X is some condensation product, because only condensation products can be hydrolyzed. Esters can be hydrolyzed. Amides can be hydrolyzed, right? So hydrolysis means this is some condensation product. Right? And after hydrolysis means breaking. Lysis means breaking. Hydro means water, so breaking by water. So after hydrolysis, we are getting carboxylic acid and amine. So means we have some condensation product after reaction 2, which was hydrolyzed, and we get amines. So you have to work out this reaction in reverse manner, right? You just simply, what you have to do, that you combine these two compounds, propanoic acid and this amine, and we would get what is X, what X is, right? So what we have to do, we just simply draw propanoic acid. What is propanoic acid? CH3, CH2, C double bond O, OH, right? This is propanoic acid, and we have 2-aminopropane. This is the same thing we have here, right? So that means 2-aminopropane was reacted with something which gives us X. And I hope now you're getting some idea that what is this something, right? 2-aminopropane, it reacts with, let's just draw 2-aminopropane here. So we have 2-aminopropane, CH3, CH, NH2 and CH3, right? So this is the product of hydrolysis of X. X was hydrolyzed, and we get these two structures, acid and amine. So if we just do the reaction in reverse manner, we again can get X. So in hydrolysis what happens? We return back hydrogen and OH to the reactant. So that means if I do this reaction in reverse manner, what I have to do, I have to remove OH from carboxylic acid and H from amine. We have to lose water. Condensation reaction is loss of small molecule, and both the molecules combines with each other. Most of the time that small molecule is water. So we have to lose water molecule here, and to lose water molecule, the acidic part will lose OH and the amine part will lose H, right? So we can get water, and now we have to combine these two parts. This part will combine with this NH. So the C double bond O, this carbon will be combined to this nitrogen, right? So let's just draw the structure here. CH3, CH2, C double bond O, and this carbon would be connected to NH, and then NH is connected to CH, which has two CH3 groups attached to it. So this is X, right? This is X. This is what X is. State the reagent needed for reaction 2. We can write the reagent needed for reaction 2, but as you can see, we have to give the structural formula of X as well. So we have worked out the structural formula of X by moving the reaction 3, by doing the reaction 3 in reverse manner. If we just again lost the water molecule, we can get X. And once we get X, we can simply identify what reagent is used in reaction 2. So let me just draw X here. X is CH3, CH2, C double bond O, NH. This is amide link, and CH, CH3, CH3. So this is the same 2-aminopropane. If you can simply look at here, this is the 2-aminopropane. If you give this nitrogen one more hydrogen, this is aminopropane, 2-aminopropane. So that means 2-aminopropane has lost hydrogen to give us this X, right? So now we have X, and now let's just work out what state the reagent needed for reaction 2. So that means 2-aminopropane was reacting with either acid, but as there is no, let me just erase these things first, because this is really important, what we are going to discuss the next. So you can see that no conditions are mentioned in reaction 2, no conditions. And you know that acids does not react with amines under normal conditions. You haven't learned any kind of reactions of carboxylic acid with amines. So carboxylic acids are not that much reactive that they can react with amines under normal conditions, right? The only substance which can react with amines under normal conditions are derivatives of carboxylic acid, right? Instead of carboxylic acid, instead of propanoic acid, this is what you have to remember, that with amines, because most of the students, they would think that the reagent used in reaction 2 is propanoic acid. This is not propanoic acid, because acid does not react with amines under normal conditions. This would be some derivative of carboxylic acid, and that derivative is acyl halide. If we replace OH with X, now this compound is called acyl halide. You would study these acyl halides more in A2, right? But simply here you can simply call them acyl halides, and just remember this thing, that they are derivatives of carboxylic acids. They are derivatives of carboxylic acids, and they are much more reactive than carboxylic acids, right? So instead of writing X, we can simply write Cl. So that means the reagent needed for reaction 2 is CH3 CH2 COCl, acyl halide, right? And the structure of X, we have already drawn the structure of X. Next part is name the type of reaction. Name the type of reaction involved in reaction 4 and suggest a suitable reagent. So what is reaction 4? Let's just erase these parts first. Right, so in reaction 4 we can see that we are getting alcohol of 3 carbon atoms from these two compounds. We have acid and amines. Obviously amines cannot be converted into alcohol, so this would be carboxylic acid going back into alcohol. So this is reduction of carboxylic acid. And for carboxylic acid, to reduce carboxylic acid, we need some strong reducing agent. So that would be LiAlH4, lithium tetrahydroaluminate, right? So the type of reaction is reduction. When carboxylic acid converts into alcohol, that is reduction. That is reduction in the presence of LiAlH4 in dry ether. The solvent is dry ether, right? So for carboxylic acid, we need a strong reducing agent, which is LiAlH4. Next part is state the name of a solid catalyst for reaction 5. What is happening in reaction 5? In reaction 5, alcohol is being converted into some substance, and as you can see that in reaction 6, Y, which is coming from reaction 5, is reacting with HBr, and we are getting 2-bromopropane. So that means Y is some alkene, because only alkenes can react with hydrogen halides to give us alkyl halides. So that means Y is alkene, and if Y is alkene, so that means alcohol is converting into Y, and this is elimination, dehydration. We are losing water molecule here, so this is elimination. And in elimination, we can use either sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid, but they are asking about solid catalyst. So the solid catalyst is Al2O3, right? For elimination of water molecule from alcohols, just remember this thing, that if you want to remove water molecule from alcohol, this is again elimination reaction. One of the carbon will lose OH, the other carbon, the next carbon, the beta carbon will lose hydrogen. And for this, you can use either acid, H2SO4, H3PO4, or Al2O3. And they are asking about solid catalyst, so that would be Al2O3. All right. The next part of the question is complete the mechanism for the production of 2-bromopropane from Y. 2-bromopropane from Y, right? 2-bromopropane from Y. This is Y and this is 2-bromopropane. So we have to write the mechanism. So this is electrophilic addition, right? Mechanism for the production of 2-bromopropane from Y in reaction 6 shown below. Include the structure of Y and any necessary lone pairs, curly arrows, charges and partial charges. So first of all, let's draw the structure of Y. What is Y? Once propanol loses water molecule, this one loses OH, this one loses H. So both these two carbon, this carbon and this carbon, they will make double bond with each other. So we would get CH3, CH, CH3, CH, double bond, CH2. I hope you're getting this thing. Let me just draw this here. We had CH3, CH2, CH2, OH, propanol, right? So this carbon loses OH group, and the next carbon, the beta carbon, This beta carbon loses hydrogen. Let's go this hydrogen. So if this hydrogen gone, this OH gone, both these carbons would make double bond with each other. So this is elimination. So we get propene, right? And now we have to draw the mechanism. So this is the addition reaction. In addition reaction, the pi electron density. This is pi electron density. HBr is polar. So let me just draw the charges here. Hydrogen is partial positive because the pi electron, due to pi electron density, the partial positive part would be closer to the alkene because this would attract. This is pi electron density, this attracts hydrogen. So the partial positive part would be nearer to the alkene and the partial negative part would be away from the alkene. Now the electron density, pi electron density would attract hydrogen. We have to draw the curly arrows. And as the pi electron density is starting transferring its electron density to hydrogen, this bond between hydrogen bromine is already electronegative. It is attracting the electron towards itself. And hydrogen cannot make two bonds. It is already involved with Br. It has already formed one bond with Br. Now this pi electron density is transferring towards hydrogen, so it has to break its bond with Br. This bond between hydrogen and bromine has to be broken if this hydrogen has to attach with this carbon, and this would be heterolytic fission. So both these electrons would be taken by bromine, the more electronegative part, right? So this bond would break, this hydrogen bromine bond would break. We get a positive hydrogen and a negative bromine, as both the electrons would be taken by bromine, and this positive hydrogen will move towards any one of them, these two carbons, right? But what happens is, you must know this thing, that hydrogen will always move to that carbon which has more hydrogens attached to it, the Markovnikov rule, right? And we know the reason for this as well, but right now we are just doing the mechanism. So we will draw the more favorable product. So the more favorable product is that hydrogen will be attached to the carbon which has more hydrogens attached to it. So this has two hydrogens, this has one hydrogen, so hydrogen will move to this carbon. So the product would be, double bond is now broken. Now we have CH, a single bond, and now this carbon has two hydrogens and the third hydrogen is also attached to it, right? And because the double bond is broken, this carbon has shared the pi electron density with the hydrogen. So that means this carbon right here has lost one of its bonds, so it would develop positive charge. And we know this thing, a positively charged carbon atom is called carbocation. So this step is formation of carbocation, plus we have a Br negative. Now in the last part, Br negative would transfer its electron negativity to the carbocation, and we finally get this product, right? So this is the complete mechanism. I hope you understand this thing, what is happening here, right? And now in the next part they're saying give the name of the mechanism. So the mechanism is electrophilic addition, right? The mechanism is electrophilic because electrophile was adding first. First of all, hydrogen was added which was positively charged. That's why we call it electrophilic addition, right? Next part is 1-bromopropane is a minor product of reaction 6. Right here we get 2-bromopropane. This is 1, 2, 3. Bromine is on second carbon, so this is 2-bromopropane. But if this hydrogen was added to this carbon, then instead of forming carbocation on this carbon, we get carbocation on this carbon. Let me just draw this structure here. We had this compound CH, double bond CH2 and HBr, right? So if this partial positive hydrogen is added to this carbon, then what would happen? Then the intermediate would be CH3, sorry, this was CH3, CH, and we have this hydrogen and double bond is broken. Now the positive charge on this carbon, so this is now the carbocation. And from your previous knowledge of carbocations, you must know this thing, that this carbocation is primary carbocation, because this is only attached directly to one carbon, right? So this is primary carbocation. And if the positive charge develop on the second carbon, so this is now, if this is carbocation, this is secondary carbocation, and secondary carbocations are more stable than primary. And the reason is the positive inductive effect. The reason is positive inductive effect. Positive inductive. What is positive inductive effect? The electron releasing nature of the neighboring carbon. These carbons will transfer some of their electron density to this carbon, so that the positive charge intensity to some extent it get released, to some extent it get stabilized. So you can just simply call it the first aid given by the alkyl groups attached to the carbocations, right? Before it makes another bond, it has to make one more bond, right? It cannot survive with just 3 bonds, so it has to make one more bond. But before making that one bond, how easily that carbocation forms, it depends on the stability of carbocation. And a tertiary carbocation is more stable than secondary, which is more stable than a primary carbocation. And the reason is positive inductive effect. And what is positive inductive effect? That the neighboring carbons, let's suppose we have this tertiary carbon, the tertiary carbocation, which is attached to 3 R groups. So 3 R groups, that means 3 helping hands, right? They are transferring some of their electron density to this carbon, so this would be more stable than a secondary carbocation, which has 2 helping hands, right? So the chances of forming a tertiary carbocation, this is tertiary, then a secondary carbocation are more because of its stability, right? So the answer for the last part is, you're asking why 2-bromopropane is the major product of the reaction 6? Because secondary carbocations, in the formation of 2-bromopropane, secondary carbocation was forming, and in the formation of 1-bromopropane, primary carbocation was forming. So we can simply say that secondary carbocation is more stable than primary, right? Due to positive inductive effect of neighboring alkyl groups, right? So I hope you understand this part.